Hello and welcome to the Headache Doctor podcast. We're on this podcast. It's our mission to educate and empower everyone with headaches and migraines so that you can break free from a life of fear of your next headache or migraine and dependence on medication. In today's podcast, we have a new podcast, a new type of podcast. This is an interview with Sorrell Forbes Romero. She is a coaching client. She went through our process, and I have yet to have a real coaching client be on the podcast. So for all of you that have been skeptical about our coaching process, and is this something that could work for me? Is it helpful? Why would I do that when I can find someone in person? All those questions are super reasonable. And so what I wanted to do is show you a real life person that went through the process and fortunately has found success. And so Sorrell, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me on. I didn't know I was the first one.
You're the first one. We've interviewed maybe a few dozen in-person patients that have gone through our process, but the coaching clients, it's probably, I don't know, like 25, 30% of people. And so we, being remote, being virtual, this program really started around COVID when everyone was moving away from in-person care. And then when the podcast grew, we started to get people reaching out from out of state. And so we had to figure out, okay, how do we help these people? And so we came up with this coaching process. And what we've seen is it works really, really well with the right type of people. And so what I want you to do is tell us your story. Like what was your journey with your headaches? And that way people can relate to that. And then we'll talk about the coaching process, what you found helpful about it. But let's just start out with your journey.
Yeah, so I've basically had headaches my whole adult life. Like I think when you asked me, I couldn't even remember what age. It just felt like I've always had them. It's like part of my personality, which I hate. Like when people think of me, it's like, oh yeah, Sorrell gets really bad migraines. And it really gets in the way of your life. I mean, they're like minimum 24 hours. And more recently, until before I saw you, they were, starting to be like 3 days long. So it's just not sustainable. I want to have a good career. I want to have a full life. And you can't just suddenly be completely out of action for minimum 24 hours. It's just awful. And I thought maybe with age, going out less, I don't know, being healthier. I'm very healthy now. I post about that a lot, have a very healthy lifestyle, and they just still didn't go. So I think I had a headache one day and just felt so just upset. I've Googled everything. I've been to everyone, and I just typed in, sorry, my dog's going crazy.
That's fine.
And I just typed in headaches on Spotify because I'm just always doing everything I can to learn about them because I like to fix things, and it's the one thing I just can't fix, even though I feel like I had a lot of knowledge on it. So I found your podcast, and you are the first person ever in, over 30 years, or I guess I wouldn't have listened when I was young, so 20 years of listening to people that didn't talk about the aura necessarily, the neurological headaches. You spoke about a pain in the head and the neck, which is exactly what I have. And you are honestly the first person that spoke like that. And it really got my interest. And I thought, he's describing exactly what I have, where when I have a headache, I want to kind of push the area, but it doesn't give me any relief. And you spoke about it stemming from the neck. And it was kind of like a hallelujah moment where I thought, I've not approached it from this direction, where it's not electrolytes, it's not drinking enough water and all of those frustrating things that people say. You were talking about the neck. And then from then on, I was just hell-bent on trying to get to you. I was in London at the time. And then I've now moved to America and thought, oh, I'm closer. I can go and see him. And maybe didn't realize how big America is. And that I'm still too far in LA really to get to you. I was obviously a bit hesitant because of that. If you want to do it, I wanted to do it right and go and see you. But it's been great. Everything that you've taught me and the knowledge that I've got has definitely been worth it. Even just to kind of get the reassurance on the type of headache. And am I one of those people that you talk about where it isn't maybe an issue with hormones or diet and it is a neck issue? So even just getting that clarification, so then I can kind of even like almost cure myself and know at least what it is, has been great. So
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely.
story.
Yeah, and your headache presentation was primarily like left-sided, behind the eye, and you felt that connection to your neck, right? Like shoulder, neck, but no one had really ever validated that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been told before it's cluster headaches, which is meant to
Okay,
be nicknamed suicide headaches. They're so bad. I've been
right.
told lots of things because I had the. I'm just going to go and give my dog a treat really fast. Is that allowed?
Sure, go for it. Yeah, we'll hold tight.
Sorry, I don't know if it was picking it up, but it's crying
Oh,
in the
you're
background.
good. You're good. Yeah, and
Um,
there's a level of background noise I can cancel out.
oh, okay, great. So yeah, basically, I've been told it's multiple different types of headaches. It's always the same side, which is what made me think maybe it was a neck thing rather than a neurological thing, because why would it always be the exact same side? Like a
Right.
normal headache, wouldn't it be everywhere? Left, I would call them my left eyebrow headaches because I was always be massaging my left eyebrow. It would feel like if that's my eyeball, the kind of tendons and everything behind the eye was actually being yanked. Genuinely, it felt like my eye was being pulled back into the socket, like an ice pick through my ear, but on the left side. So everything the left side, um, jaw aching on the left, and then yeah, at the back of my skull on the left. So I was just constantly massaging the left side of my head. And it doesn't sound that bad when you describe it. And even when I don't have it, you forget. But in that moment, it is. I've been ill with different things over my life, and nothing compares to the pain of these headaches. They're just the worst. So
Yeah.
yeah, coming to you and finding out that it might not just feel like the neck, but it actually is the neck was crazy.
Yeah, that's it's amazing that we can go through our healthcare here in the United States and then over in England or maybe Europe in general. It's really a global issue that people dealing with these types of symptoms are not able to find the type of care they need. And your intuition of, hey, this is my neck, and I know my neck is involved, and even being able to like push there and change what you feel to some extent is really a good indication like we have a neck problem. So when we're okay, so you found the podcast. It's like, okay, this is a guy who's acknowledging my connection to the neck. And so you reach out to us, and I start talking about this virtual coaching because obviously, coming to our in-person center is a little bit challenging. So what were your hesitations or thoughts or feelings like when I initially started talking? Or I think you may have just booked it right away, but what were hesitations you may have had?
I did book it right away because it was a day where I had a headache
Okay.
that I did all this. So it was another day where I thought, I can't live like this. Like, you just can't imagine the pain. Like, every tablet imaginable, taking more than I should, nothing helping. And I just thought, I liked your podcast and how you approached it in a different way to anyone I'd heard before. And I just thought, I've got to give it a try and spend the money and do it. But I wanted to do it the whole way. So I was, a bit sad I couldn't come in person. But as I said, a large part of the problem was me just wanting to actually know what type of headache it was.
Right.
What is this neck issue? How do I stop it myself? So I didn't really almost need to come in person to describe it to you, for you to even just look at the way my neck moves to go, okay, this is that, because obviously there's a very different approach to curing a cluster headache or a neurological type of headache to a headache caused by neck tension. So the first thing was just getting diagnosed and actually knowing that's what it was. Because whenever I would read things online, which I would a lot on forums, people talking about headaches, everyone would talk about the aura. People would be sick. I'm never sick from my headaches, but no one would talk about like almost needing to push to the point of it didn't feel good. It was like this pain that felt horrible but was still almost a bit of a relief, like pushing the muscle up, or I don't even know what I'm doing, but I just know it gives some sort of feeling of relief in that moment. So yeah, I guess I didn't really need to come to you. I do like to do things in person, but for this, I think you kind of just gave me the tools for me myself to kind of improve my headache at home. by
Yeah.
giving me exercises and the sound machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that people might be questioning, and reasonably so, is, man, my headache or my migraine is so bad. Like the intensity of the symptoms are so bad. Like, how could I just do some simple exercises and this be the solution? Does that seem like, do you
Yeah.
understand that or empathize with that?
Oh yeah, you think that you have the worst headache. I still think nobody's headache hurts as much as mine. I'm like, there's no way. Theirs is
Right.
bad, but mine's, nothing touches it. Theirs is a day, mine's 3 days. It's so dramatic in that moment, and then as soon as I feel better a week later, I've forgotten about it, and that's why I maybe don't. Well, I wasn't doing the things I needed to do to help myself, because as soon as you don't have the headache, you forget. But that day when you wake up with that headache and you just wish you were asleep so you can't feel the pain because the pain is so bad, you open your eyes and you think, no, please, this is how I'm going to feel for 2 to 3 days. Then suddenly you're like, oh, I'll do anything. I'll do whatever exercise every day. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll pay the money,
Yeah.
and suddenly you'll do it all. But I guess what I would say I've learned from you, and I guess I did kind of know this deep down before, there's not one thing that is going to cure it. You've not told me one thing and then I've done an exercise and I'm cured. I've improved a lot since seeing you. I still had a few minor headaches throughout the course of we've been talking for a few months now. But I haven't had a headache since I last saw you. And I do think it's not one thing. So sleep position, I didn't realize how important that is. Makes so much sense now that I've learned about the neck. Obviously, if you're asleep for 8 hours every day, if you were awake for 8 hours at a weird angle, that would probably not help. Is that the only thing? No, but that combined with maybe being tired certain times of the month, I've just realized it's everything. And basically it's what helps is kind of the boring thing you maybe don't want to do, which is completely changing your whole lifestyle. Even though, like I said, I was very healthy, but changing my lifestyle, not just, I'm very healthy and post about health every day, but I wasn't healthy with my posture, my sleep position. So yeah, I think the combination of everything, doing the exercises you've given me has made a massive difference, but you do have to do it all. And you know that I didn't always do it all, because sometimes I used to come on the call and say, well, I had a slight headache, and you would say, did you do the exercises and how did you sleep? And then I would say, oh, I didn't do them this week. But once I got consistent and had an actual physical piece of paper that I ticked off every day, I've done every exercise and how I've slept, now I haven't had a headache. So fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
that's amazing. And I'm so thankful that that's true for you, that you've gone through this process, you've made the changes. And one of the big things that we see correlate to the success of someone going through either in person or a coaching is their commitment to the process. And so being bought in is a huge deal. And so you're someone who champions your health. You talk about your health, you promote health, and you've been listening to our podcast for a long time. But it took me coming alongside you and just like pushing you into this stuff and saying, hey, no, like this matters and we need to do this. So I love that. And I also love that you're highlighting that this is not just one thing. So the neck is a big deal. Obviously, I think the neck is a big deal. But it's not the only thing that we need to pay attention to. And so we zoom out and we look at the big picture and we try to understand someone's overall health and what are situations throughout their life, whether they're awake or asleep, that are going to increase or decrease the amount of tension, and how do we change those scenarios so that we shift everything or as much as we can so that time is on our side again. And so I love, and this is why I asked you to be on the podcast, because you bought into the process, you did what we told you, and you didn't have this mindset of like, oh, that's too simple and it won't solve my problem. You believed it, right? And it's so empowering to hear your story and think, okay, people can search for decades and have this debilitating problem. And we can go through a process that is sort of like strikingly simple in like what I'm coaching you to do. And it have such a profound impact Does that surprise you? Like, does it surprise you what we actually talked about and like that it's working?
I do think I think we all sometimes are like know-it-alls, right, when it comes to us, because you think, well, I've
Right.
had these for 20 years, I've tried everything. And you would say about sleep position, and I said, oh, well, I sleep on my back, so I know I'm fine. I already
Right.
sleep in the healthiest way. So I maybe was a bit of a know-it-all, and then kind of realized, yes, you might sleep on your back, which is good, but you do roll onto your side in the night for quite a few hours. And in which case, that pillow you have actually isn't great for when you are on your side, even just for a few hours. So I
Yeah,
think
you're fine. Your dog's agreeing with you. It's like, yeah, yeah,
he's feeling sorry for himself. It looks like
yeah.
he's not been out. He's had the time of his life this morning, this dog, and he still wants more. Um, so, yeah, I think it's just trusting in you and not being a know-it-all and thinking, oh, well, my sleep position's fine. Because again, it might be fine for a few hours, but it might not be for just 2 hours. And those 2 hours on the wrong day of the month with the wrong this suddenly makes a headache. You know, it is just all these little things that come together. And that's why so many people have headaches, right? And that can't get rid of them, because if it was one thing, you'd figure out your type of headache and the cure for that type and you'd be good. But the problem is, it is always so nuanced, and it's so many little things that add up to the headache. So now I just have to live very strictly.
Yeah, well, right, right. So you have to live in a way that caters to your neck, and so the whole process of coaching is empowering people to understand their problem and know how to take steps in the right direction, so that you're not just wandering through the healthcare system dependent on medication. And in your situation, you got to the point where like meds weren't helping. Is that correct? Like the meds weren't touching it like it used to, and it was like, okay, now I'm desperate.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, it would never last longer than 24 hours, and the tablets might help eventually. But even if they didn't, I used to think it would be gone when I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
But then it started to become so strong. The next day, I'd open my eyes. And again, it sounds dramatic, but when you feel this type of pain, it's just the worst. You just think, oh my gosh, like what I would give to not be awake, because it hurts that much. You just want to still be asleep. And you think, I've dealt with it all day yesterday. I can handle one bad day, but to wake up with it again is just the worst. And then, yeah, eventually they just got longer and longer, and tablets really wouldn't work even at all. It went from they helped to just, I may as well have not taken them.
Yeah. So if we go back to your experience through the coaching program, it sounds like you were bought in, like in a sense of session one you booked, you're like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm just going to do it. We had some setbacks. We had some headaches. What you realized was, oh, I need to be consistent. Like that consistency is key, right?
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No. So consistency, I think is vital. That's something we talk about on the podcast, and something that it's those little things that we need to elevate to a point of like, this is important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything else that comes to mind when you think of the coaching program that is like, okay, this really impacted me?
I do think you have to do a few sessions, because it wasn't just went from here to here. It wasn't a straight graph. I think maybe the second session, once you had said it was the neck and to do the exercises, and maybe I wasn't being as good at doing them as I should have been, then suddenly I had a week where I said, well, I've had a headache again, and I was kind of a bit defeated and maybe not in the best mood. And then I think I remember on our third call, suddenly you messaged me after, like that felt like a really good call, and it felt like lots happened and things were getting better, and you'd given me a few more exercises which I could feel more, and you said, wow, if that's hurting you to just do one of those, then maybe this exercise is even more powerful than this. So I do think you have to just commit to it, and it might not be just a straight road to success. It may feel like, oh, what am I doing? And then suddenly it all falls into place, because for some people they might sleep in a worse position than me. Some people might have even more tension than I do, or slightly less, so that different things that you advise may help them more or less. So you have to kind of just try everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's called coaching, because we can provide you with the information, and but each session builds on the last, and so we have to understand. Okay, how did it go? What went well? What didn't go well? Tell me about, okay, this day you had a headache. What'd you do that day? Things like that. And so we get to understand and enter into your reality with you. And so, yeah, and it's just 4 sessions. It's not this extensive process that we have to meet, on a regular basis. And so we space them out 2 to 3 weeks or so. And we give you time to implement what we talk about. And so I love that there was, you haven't had a headache since we last spoke, which is a sign of success.
Yeah.
But those hiccups and that like non-linear progression is very common. And so, we counsel a lot of people, and, oh man, I've done, whether it's in person and they've done like 3 or 4 visits, and they're like, man, I had a bad headache. And we say, it's not an indication that we're not going to get there. We just got to push through. We got to learn from it, and then we have to get better. One of the other things that you've highlighted before the call was the SAM device. Tell us your experience with that. Like, what were your initial thoughts with the SAM?
I'm really sorry. I'm going to put my dog outside because he's crying a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go
He's
for
gone
it.
very loud now. Hold on. Sorry. He's being a lot today. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
One thing I was just going to say as well is I always used to keep a diary for headaches because people would say, check what you've done to see what your triggers are. But again, it's really aimed at diet and, again, a different type of headache to what my kind of headaches are caused by, which I think not many people know they have this type of headache. So I could never figure out what it was. And yet when I did a diary on things like how I slept, and how long I slept, suddenly there were patterns. But because I wasn't looking at the food I had, or if I was dehydrated, suddenly I thought, oh, yeah, I did actually sleep on my front in a hotel where they had huge pillows and I had a headache. But I thought, oh, is it because I actually had a drink? I haven't had a drink in ages. I had one drink, and then suddenly I thought it wasn't the drink, it was being away in a hotel, slept on my front, big pillows. So a diary and kind of sharing that with you was also really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in terms of the SAMS device, this is the best thing I think that came out of everything possibly.
Awesome.
So I obviously try to use it every day, and I can describe how it works in a second, but when I really noticed it was working was when I actually found that a headache was about to happen. I thought, oh no, I can tell how I'm feeling now. I'm going to have a bad one tomorrow. And I just used it for a bit longer than usual. And it's not enjoyable, like it's not relaxing. It feels a bit like kind of feels like what my headaches feel like, but a minor version. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a headache the next day. And that is when I thought, okay, there's something to this. I have it here, but basically these 2 prongs go at the base of my skull, which is exactly where I used to push. So if anybody listening finds they're pushing a certain area of their head, I feel like it would be worth giving this a try, because that push is where I used to push once I had the headache. But obviously you're using it when you don't have a headache, and then you just like pull the toggle and turn your head. And the day I knew it was really crazy, I felt behind my eye, you know how I said earlier, it feels like my eye's being tugged. It makes my eye water, my nostrils water when I have a headache. I felt that sensation, like I could feel my eye gently kind of, something was happening to these muscles, even though the machine was there at the base of my skull.
Right.
And it was really replicating the headache. And that's when I just thought, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. When people talk about heated neck things or ice packs, to have something press into the tension that you often get, and then it was pinging behind my eye when I'm not touching my eye, is when I thought, okay, I think this is designed for my kind of headache. So yeah, I love the device. I try to use it every day. I'm going to try and be strict on that and stick with it. But certainly if I feel one coming on before it's too late and it's really bad, I think it's great to use for kind of 20 minutes. and then I feel like I didn't get the headache. But even when I've had the headache, I've gone on it, but then it's almost too late. But it was really good for prevention.
Yeah. Man, that's amazing, because that's exactly what we hear from other users of the SAM device. It's been my experience. So if I'm at home and I'm like, man, I kind of got a headache coming on, I'll use the SAM device and it'll go away. And then a few things you touched on, which I did not, just for the record, didn't prep you on. You said that the longer you use it, or at least you said I used it for longer, and then about 20 minutes or so, you found the benefit of just sticking with it, even though it didn't feel comfortable. That's huge. And then also the fact that it reproduced your headache. A lot of people use it and they get kind of scared, like, ooh, it's pushing on the spot and it's just going to be more angry. And oftentimes we have to sort of coach people on, okay, stick with it, because to get the therapeutic effect, you have to work through that tension that you're feeling. And once you work through it and it kind of dies down, that's when you get the result. So I guess I don't remember. Did I coach you on that, or did you just like figure that on your own?
I mean, I would put my computer on and you would show me how to use it. But I do think
Well, the fact that you had to like use it for longer.
Oh, right. Yeah. I just wanted to keep going.
Keep going.
It's like, it doesn't feel good, but it feels good. It's a really strange sensation. Like, I mean, I'm moving so slow because it does feel a bit like, it's not this happy thing where you're just moving your head really fast. It's really tender. And so I do it really slow to kind of be careful. And yeah, it feels like it's recreating at a very low level the headache. So for me, I'm like, okay, let's give this a try. There's obviously some sort of tension here if it hurts, and it's just getting that mobility and moving through that area, and then the headaches have reduced.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and the fact that it can reproduce your headache is confirmation that it's addressing the problem site. And so when it comes to talking about like understanding if you have this neck issue that's leading to your type of headache or migraine, there's a few things, Sorrell, in your story. Your intuition of, yes, I knew that it was my neck, and my shoulder would also be involved, and it was one-sided. And then, receiving the SAM device, trying it, being able to reproduce that is also confirmation. So for the listener, this doesn't mean that you have to have Sorrell's exact same headache for this process to work for you. Sorrell's type of headache is a good one that is definitely connected to the neck, and we should go through this process. So if you relate to Sorrell's story, reach out to us. We want to get the SAM device in your hands, and we want to make sure that you're getting the results just like Sorrell is. Are there any other thoughts or things that come to mind about this process? Anything that stands out as we sort of wrap up here?
I guess when you say I had the intuition, I actually didn't. So I guess that's important to say. I didn't know what kind of headache. That's why you helped me confirm that.
Right.
I may have pushed there, but because so much stuff online is about different types of headaches, actually, I didn't know. I didn't know it was definitely my neck. I knew I pushed there, but I thought it could be stemming from anywhere. It was only when I heard you say, oh, a lot of people have neck issues and certain times of the month your pain tolerance is down, that I thought, oh, that could be me. But I mean, I lived a long time thinking a headache was a neurological thing, and it was the brain hurting and my eye hurting. I never thought it could stem from somewhere so far away from where the pain is. And it was only when I got the SAMS device I realized, oh, pushing here can make here my eye have a feeling, and I realized it was connected. So I guess people might be on the fence about, oh, mine's caused by this or that or food, and they probably think, no, it can't be the neck. But even if it feels like their eyebrow or eye, it still might be the neck. So I guess my advice is still give it a try, this kind of device, or talking with you and doing the coaching. Right. But yeah, I don't really have much to say other than thank you for helping me improve my headaches. And it's been a great experience. I was a bit on the fence about not being able to physically have you see my neck in person, but with all of the exercises you've given me, and even just being able to ask the most niche question about something that I do each day, how I might ride my bike or sit in a chair, and just get your expert knowledge was worth it in itself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, sharing your story. this isn't an easy thing to do, and especially, but it's important work. And I appreciate you saying that before we hopped on, of like, you're passionate about it now, because you've seen it help you. And so I hope that your story, I know it will help other people and encourage them. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, and sorry about my dog.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to the Headache Doctor podcast. It's our mission on this podcast to educate and empower everyone with headaches and migraines so that we can break free from a life of fear of your next headache or migraine and dependence on medication. I'll see you next week.